What's going on, everybody? Welcome to another edition of the Black Mental Health Podcast. I'm your host, Reg. Joined today with me is another very, very special guest. We met online, but I swear when we talk, we could talk for days. We'll keep talking. And I wanted him to come share his story because I feel like he had a beautiful way of elegantly talking and sharing your experiences. And I feel like it's adding a new element on the podcast that I haven't really dived into. I want to make sure I introduce you right. So, DeAngelo, like how do you want to be introduced as?
Yeah, that's DeAngelo.
Just DeAngelo? And I guess, what is it? Founder of Black Boy Beautiful?
Yes.
Okay.
We'll say that.
Okay. And I guess explain to the people what Black Boy Beautiful is.
It is... I was really going to try to remember what I wrote on Instagram. It's not going to happen. First line was, it's my way out and it's my way in.
Mm-hmm.
It's, Black Boy Beautiful is, to me, it's my healing. I've experienced life, like many of us have.
Mm-hmm.
And I've been able to become aware of...
I just pulled up what he wrote.
Yeah, let me read it. It was nice. I think it was nice. Yeah, I'm going to read this.
Okay.
This sounds better. So, Black Boy Beautiful is my way out, it's my way through, and it's my way of reaching back to bring kings forward. The misconception is that kings rule and reign alone, and that's never been more far from reality. Kings have courts because the power and weight of the crown is oftentimes too much for one man to handle. Alone can be therapeutic, but it can also be threatening. Alone can be cathartic, but it could also cost you your future and your life. I know what alone feels like, and I don't want other kings to ever have to feel that like that's their fate. I'm excited about this work and this journey. It'll be the hardest thing I've ever done, and it's probably the one thing that I will attribute to saving my life. My prayer is that it'll save yours as well. Kings united are kings never divided.
That was beautiful. That was real beautiful.
It really is what it's about. I mean, holistically, that's really what it's about. I came to the fact that I grew up without things. Mm-hmm. Whatever those things were, that's my life. Mm-hmm. But as an adult, I have to realize that I can't always stick to that story. Mm-hmm. Because nothing's going to happen. Like, right. if I get mad at my parents, if I get mad at, family members or friends or whatever for what they did not do, and I don't really put forth the effort to rectify or course correct my life so that I can see what I want to see, then I can't blame anybody, and right. It becomes now my fault.
Right.
And so I know a lot of other black males are out there suffering because they think differently, or they are different, or they don't fit in, or they aren't the best communicators. Just a whole list of people, or a list of attributes and qualities that we see make us less than man. Mm-hmm. And again, it's not the case. You're black. You're beautiful. You're a man. You're a male. And Black Boy Beautiful. Oftentimes, you never hear those three words in a sentence, especially boy and beautiful. It's one of those heteronormative things that you just kind of, women are pretty. Mm-hmm. Men are handsome. Mm-hmm. Well, I feel pretty today. Why can't I be pretty? You know what I'm saying? Like, why can't I be beautiful? He's cute, or he's adorable. Well, I'm beautiful. Let me be beautiful. Right. You know what I'm saying? Let me be gorgeous. Like, I mean, all that kind of stuff. So it's like, there's definitely more to this life than just proving your manhood. Mm-hmm. And there are a lot of people who kind of get stuck in that box. Mm-hmm. I've gotten stuck in that box, and it's a dumb box to get stuck in. Right. And I want to help others get free, like just really find healing from pasthood traumas, so that they can really be the men that they've been created to be. Mm-hmm.
What are some of the things specifically, because you talked about some things were missing out of your life, what's some of the specific examples, if you have any, of things that you would have wanted?
Although I knew my father, we didn't have a consistent relationship. And I know that's a story for, you know, a lot of people can relate to. But for me, personally, I think, or I know now that there was a lot of affection that I needed. There was a lot of structure, you know, just from that type of figure that I believe kind of set me back. You know, for the life that was waiting for me, there's a person I needed to be successful. You know, I am a very, now I am, and now I know I am, like, I'm a very touchy-feely guy. I didn't have that growing up, you know, and it took me, you know, up until my adult years to learn that. And, you know, just different things that just really make you a well-rounded person.
Right.
And again, like I said, especially black males, we, you know, once we're born, they check that box on our birth certificate, and that's it. Like, whatever that box is, everything that comes with that box, you are now that. Like, your life has been planned out for you. You know, you are an enemy to the country, or excuse me, to the world. Okay, you know, you have to be strong. You have to provide. You know, depending on what area you are, you have to be a part of a gang. You got to be a part of this. You got to, you know, drop out of high school. You got to go to jail. You got to do drugs. 'Cause, you know, just whatever that box is for you. It's just very limiting, and there's so much, like, to think that there's an actual universe beyond, like, the blue sky that we see.
Right.
Like, there's a whole bunch of stuff out there that we don't know, that we don't think about, and when I think about that as a black man, I'm like, there's so much more to life than just being that box.
Right.
And so, yeah, like I said, for me, you know, just the physical touch, you know, having that structure, that male structure is just, it really is something different, you know, to hear instructions from a male figure than a female figure, to a man or to a young boy or to a young girl. It just takes on a different connotation. And I like I said, for me, you know, there are definitely a few other things, but those two, you know, just kind of come to mind. But I can't fault my parents for doing what they thought was best. At the end of the day, that's what happened. And, you know, when I really think of them as people, as 20-year-old young adults having to now shift their life to raise and take care of a child, I have to remember what I was like at 20, and, you know, what my friends were like at 20. And although some of them had kids, I can't say they were already, you know.
No, it's true.
You know, and so it's like just really giving our parents that humanity, and offering that forgiveness. Not that it needs to be, you know, verbalized or whatever, but just kind of forgiving them from your heart, so that you can really expand your humanity. Again, there's so much more to us than that box, and I really want to help. Like I said, I want to help other young men like myself just kind of embrace who they are, and really just be the beautiful men that they've been created to be.
Talk a little bit more about, like, teenage, high school years, when you started to, I guess, figure out that you were a little bit more touchy-feely, or when you started to have to because I know for me, I had a stepdad growing up, but he left around the time that I really need him, where you really start coming into who you are. Around middle high school, like, you start to explore different things, and that's when I started kind of getting into trouble, but not just trying to figure things out. And I guess I needed someone to help me identify my feelings. So I guess with you, what were your feelings during that time period, if you can remember?
Right, if I can remember. Honestly, for me, I gotta remember though. I'll say this: I didn't start coming to myself until probably about 2021.
Okay.
I left home at 18 to go to school down in Daytona, No friends, no family, there. I think I maybe knew one person in the school. And I learned a lot about myself. I think I was kind of forced to explore who I was because I was now surrounded by people who knew who they were. I'll say, like, I used to sing. I used to sing a lot in church and stuff like that. And growing up, I would always mimic the people that I heard on the radio. That's how I sang. And it wasn't until I went to college and was in the choir and I heard these people singing and was like I've never heard people sing like that before.
Right.
And they are confident in who they are and their voices are different and they all have different, sounds and tones and all this kind of stuff. And I'm like, I want one.
Right.
And so, like, even with that was now a search for me. Like, I had to now search to find, like, what my voice was. Luckily, I believe I found it, or a version of it.
Right.
But that, I grew up late. I grew up late. I matured early, and I grew up late. And so high school, I don't remember if I liked high school. I think I did. I wasn't like popular and all that kind of stuff. I knew everybody, but that's about it.
Did you have any like mental issues while you were in there, since you were saying you were struggling with finding your voice?
No. I'll say I was who I needed to be in that box.
Right.
That's why, in order to get through the day and to appease whomever I needed to appease, I was whoever I needed to be for that box. And it wasn't, like I said, until I left that I was able to explore a bit more. I'll say mental health didn't really kind of show up for me where I was aware of what it was, again, until my 20s.
Okay. What was the earliest signs of like anything?
It was definitely depression for me. I used to say that I'm introverted by nature, but I grew up in a quiet house. So technically, I'm really not introverted. I just like my space to be my space, and I usually like my space, so I stay in my space.
Right.
I'm probably more. I can't even say I'm probably more ambivert. I'm definitely more of an introvert than an extrovert. So being by myself wasn't an issue. But I believe it wasn't until I was like in my first apartment, after my roommate had left, was probably like my first extended period of depression where like it was like I stayed in the house. Like no desire to really do much of anything. I think like if I had to work, I worked, but that was it. And then really kind of experiencing those, really haunting negative feelings. That was probably the first time. And from there, it really became kind of a cycle, like at least once a year or once or twice a year, I would kind of dip into that and, come out, and a few months would pass and dip back into it. So again, yeah, my early 20s was definitely tumultuous. You don't get to say that often.
Right.
Tumultuous, and thinking back on it now, like I've had to apologize to quite a few people, just because of who I was then, and kind of to share or to shed light on why I did some of the things
right
back then that I did. Like somebody asked me yesterday via like my Instagram or something. I was like, he was like you left, like you moved, you didn't say anything. What's up with that? And I was like, well, I'm sorry, like it's really a bad habit. I am literally the out of sight, out of mind person. Like if you are not in my immediate day, I probably, not that I won't think, most people I don't think about it. Just it needs to be here. If it's outside of here, I don't see it. Yeah. And so unfortunately it happens even with my family. Like I don't go home as often as I should, as often as I want to. It's not for the lack of or the desire. I just kind of get in those zones.
Well, I know off air we talked about like how you say you don't look past today.
Oh,
you can't see past today.
Yeah.
Is that a part of it, or it's like you're in the present moment?
It probably is. Yeah. So it was because I was like I don't really kind of see my future. I only see today. Yeah, it still is that way. Honestly, I'll say the diagram that I was just showing you earlier. I actually created like a 3-year timeline of things that I want to do. I think that's probably the first time in maybe 3 or 4 years that I've actually put a plan like that together, just so that I could at least make myself see myself. Not just doing the things, but working to get there. Because in my mind, I've spoken in a theater to thousands of people. It's already happened. If I died tonight, I would probably be okay, because in my mind, I've done all these things.
Right.
Like that's, I say that's how strong my imagination is. That I've actually envisioned myself doing the things that I want to do. And because I'm so in my mind, it's definitely one of those inception moments. But there's an entire world up here, and you all are just supporting, cast. Just kind of in the background. But there's a whole lot of stuff going up here. But like I said, I think my imagination is just really I've worked it so much to the point where I've kind of tricked myself into thinking I've done things. So I don't always push for it.
Right.
Because
in your mind you already got it accomplished.
Yeah, and it sounds real weird when somebody else says it.
I understand it. It actually, because I talked to my girl about that, it gives you a sense of confidence in yourself, because to you, you're accomplished, because you literally feel like, no, I already did that.
Yeah.
I'm just waiting for life to catch up with what's in my mind.
Yeah. Like, so, y'all are behind, and I'm just like, well, if y'all never catch up, oh well, like, you missed the boat.
Right, right.
It's already done. And that's the positive side of it. The negative side, obviously, is it comes in effect.
Get things done.
Yeah. And then I'd be like, why? This is stupid. I don't do this.
No, for real.
It's not, no, that's okay. I'm good. But definitely I think now, because even after we had that conversation, I kind of put myself in the mind to really think of how that way of thinking affected a lot of things before. I can attribute like my lack of ambition to it. I've been an entrepreneur for about 9 years now, and I have failures in that, and many lessons learned. But even like time and punctuality, again, I don't see tomorrow, and I don't see myself in tomorrow, and I don't know, it doesn't really make me anxious to
right
move forward sometimes.
Right.
And so and like I said, I think really kind of thinking back on it, it really did affect a lot of how I thought about life and how I thought about people, and how I thought about just moving forward in the past. And it did. I say it has prevented me from quite a bit. I mean, I take ownership of it. So now it's time, I guess.
To get the work
done.
I wanted to touch on two things. In case I forget, you can lead into it. I want to touch on the picture that you posted about male masculinity. But before I get there, your father, how do you think that his lack of affection or the up and down that you guys had affected your relationships when dealing with either men, female, anything, like moving forward, how you deal with the other person outside of you?
I don't think anybody's ever asked me that question out loud. So I believe okay. So I believe the relationship that we had was probably a spawn or kind of a seed for trusting people. It definitely created a very strong independence. Probably to the point of stubbornness in a lot of scenarios. And because even with I think I shared on that, like I've had honestly, it's a fear of men, specifically black men. I never really feel like I measure up. Because I didn't learn the rules of how to hang out with other guys. Because I grew up with a lot of women. So I know how they act. I know how to enter into conversations. It's very easy. And the guys that I have met, I think the first time I had a boys' sleepover, I was 21. Yeah, I met a friend when I went to college, and he was off campus and stayed with his family. But once I withdrew from school and I was homeless, I guess. Yeah, I didn't have nowhere to go. I stayed with them. But I would, definitely go over times before. But I think that was the first time a sleepover
actually happened
with another guy. It's 21.
Right.
And even building that relationship was, kind of rough a little bit. Because again, I was used to hanging out with girls. I was used to hanging out with females, and I didn't always know what to do. Him and I loved seeing him and his father. They were very tight and close and affectionate, and all that kind of stuff. And he would joke with them, and they would they were just a cool family, in general. It would definitely make me a bit sad. But yeah, I think it definitely planted seeds for some of my isms with connecting with people, again, especially males. Now, I grew up with sets of outside cousins. My immediate family, we didn't really have a whole lot of young boys my age to hang out with. So I had some pseudo cousins from my uncle's wife, my aunt, her nephews, and I would hang out with them. But again, I didn't know how to fit in. I didn't know how to be one of the guys. I didn't like sports. They were pointless to me. I didn't really care for them. I didn't play any. So yeah, I think not having that relationship with him definitely, again, kind of put me in a deficiency with really being able to connect with other guys. And even now, because I'm coming to the realization, kind of late but still early compared to others. But even as an adult, I still get intimidated by other black men. And it's weird to say, but there's definitely a level of, because again, like I said, I've always, no matter what our connection was or the length of time that we hadn't seen each other, I kind of always put him on a pedestal of sorts, like he was this untouchable figure. And I think I've just done that with men in general, where I never see myself on their level,
measuring up.
Yeah. So I think that's probably the biggest takeaway.
All right. So, and when you say measure up, because like yourself, I grew up around, I guess, a lot of females too, in a sense, and for the most part, as a kid, I guess you can answer all of these because this is all three things in one question.
Okay.
But like you said, knowing the rules of what it means to be a man and to fit in with other men conversations. I remember I used to get made fun of if I was holding my hand like this, or if they were rushing me like, oh, you messing with them little girls in school? And at the time it was like, no. But now in my mind it's like, do I have to be in order to fit in with the family? So when you say like there's unwritten rules or feeling like you measuring up, when you said it, I guess I look at it in a different way from my perspective of, it's certain underlying rules to manhood with like how to fit in that if you don't know them, you're just not cool. And it's like you're not accepted, or the girls don't look at you the same because you don't know the cool factors or stuff like that. So when you said like there's unwritten, it's like I know exactly what he mean when he said that. Like if you don't, it's kind of almost, if you don't have a dad, you definitely got to have a big brother to like guide you into knowing like this is what is society's standards of what these things are. So I guess when you said intimidation, like I guess what do you mean by like intimidation of black men? Like not scared in a sense, right?
No, sometimes it is. Okay. Like it's I don't want to say a fear. Mm-hmm. Because I don't think I could be lying and just don't know it. Mm-hmm. But I don't want to say a fear because I don't think it's that severe. But there's definitely a level of intimidation. I'll say there was there was an organization that I was a part of my junior year, a subset of the 100 Black Men. Like we had this cohort or conclave of young boys, junior, senior, in high school, and we went through this program, and at the end we would have this ball and this whole rites of passage type deal. I think that helped me, but again, I was already 17 when I got into that program. That was like the first time that it was the first time where I was with other guys for like, now I'll say extended periods of time, because it definitely had happened before, but where I had to interact and there was a common connection. Mm-hmm. And it just wasn't because we were guys. Mm-hmm. It was because like we were going through this process together. And I think that helped because we went through it together. Aside, instead of just, being relatives with someone that you just, kind of grow up with, for me, that helped me. But, growing up, like you said, being rushed to mess with girls or to feel up on them, mm-hmm. and, have a girlfriend and do all this kind of stuff. And I remember, obviously rap has always been like a huge staple in our community. It's like, I didn't like it. I didn't understand it. I didn't know the words. I didn't know the words, but I went to my cousin's house in the summer, and I was there all day. and we looked at music videos, and I had to do it.
Right.
Or we had to go outside and play. It's hot. I don't want to go out there.
Right.
But that's what you just have to do it. Or playing basketball or football. I don't want to.
Right.
But you just do it just because. And hearing because that was what I'm 33, so grew up late 80s, all the 90s, all the 2000s. But like in the 90s, like saying faggot and sissy, like that was like you dropped those words like water. And I heard that a lot. I heard it a lot, and I've always kind of had a knowledge that I was not like everybody else. I was not like everybody else, but I couldn't be that.
Right.
Because they talk about that, and I don't need any other reason for people to talk about me, or I don't need any other reasons for people to not want to be around me. Which I think definitely kind of stems from the whole abandonment thing. Again, totally different subset. But I don't need another reason. I don't need another reason to feel like people don't want to be around me.
Right.
So having to deal with that at a very uncomfortable age and at a very uncomfortable time where there was nobody that I could talk to. And so that was, for me, I think that became the bigger struggle, is knowing, and might I add, being okay with the fact that I liked guys. And I knew that.
Right.
But I didn't know how to be around them. And I didn't know how to connect, and I didn't know how to fit in, and again, and then now I have to deal with this, and again, nobody to talk to, because you can be a lot of things in the hood, but you can't be gay. Like that's, obviously we've come a little bit of, a little bit away. I can't say far, but we've, a little bit.
Right.
But yeah, 90s. No. No.
Everything.
No. Gay men were like, they were hairdressers and dancers and all the things that men didn't do.
Right.
Yeah, and
they couldn't be a regular person.
No,
just
no,
like
they were not. No,
do regular people things.
No, apparently they did not. There were not any gay men in the 80s and the early 90s who were just regular people.
Went to work and just
paid taxes,
right?
Paid bills, went out for groceries, and go home. Like no, they were hyper stereotyped and really portrayed in a very comedic and especially in the 90s, everybody ragged on gay people. Especially like the black shows, like gay man, any type of homosexual anything was the cut.
Right.
That was what brought a fight on, or that was you had a real hard joke. Right after, it was that thing, and so being that was not, you just couldn't do that, and so, I think I'm just rambling now because I don't even remember what prompted all of this, but I'll say so just really not understanding how to connect, not understanding who I was, or knowing who I was, but not being able to. That's what it is. I've never truly had an issue with who I am. My issue is I don't believe that people will receive me.
Yeah.
If I'm just DeAngelo.
Right.
That's always, I'll say for the longest, that's always been my thing. I'm just not sure that people will stick around.
Right.
If I just show them exactly who I am.
Do you feel like you still curve it to a sense?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. A part of this journey for me, one of the points of awareness was that I had pretty much created a persona that I believed people could handle. And I got so wrapped up into it that I pretty much limited it was very stoic, it was very nonchalant. I didn't show a lot of emotion unless you got into intimate spaces with me. I didn't, I didn't smile a lot. I think like after I moved, one memory that I have, very, 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 very strong memory. I believe, again, I was like 21, and I was, with some of the church people that I was with, and we took a picture. I don't believe I smiled in pictures like for a long time, because I've never liked the way my teeth were like shifting and all that kind of stuff. And again, just additional reasons why people don't like me, or why nobody wants to date me, or why people don't stick around, or like just all this stuff. And that's like when MySpace was out and everybody had these top 8s, and I only had like 2 people. And that social media like really, it showed me that the world was doing a whole lot more than what I was. And again, I didn't fit. I didn't measure up. I didn't have a whole lot of stuff going on. I didn't know a whole lot of people. But yeah, I think like 21, I realized that I hadn't really like smiled a lot. Again, internal issues. But yeah, just really, really having to come to terms with the fact that I created a person that I presented to people, and they responded to that. And me wanting to stick to the script, like I would just continue to play that part. Again, to the point of not stifling myself to the point where I can't even like really be myself. So I think I lost a lot of years doing that. Again, the people that I was like really intimate or close with, I think they saw me, they got a little bit more of me, but I don't think anybody nobody, I don't even know at this point, like what I look like on 100, like at my peak.
Right.
I've seen peaks, but I can't, because I created that person. I can't even take that anymore. Like I can't even
be a part of it.
Yeah, like it's like I've kind of canceled out my past because I wasn't who I was supposed to be. Or I wasn't being the person fully that I needed to be. So it's like now at 33, like screw everybody. Okay, like just, and I still have issues with it. But definitely trying to find more of my freedom, more of my safe space.
No, it's funny because it's so funny because if I had a persona that I had created myself to be too. Like I said, during the period of finding myself, I'm from the Caribbean, my family from Antigua, so I got Rastas in my family, and they do not like gay people. They do not like them or anything, and I considered myself a Rasta for a long time. I guess that was the religion that I identify with, even though they don't call themselves a religion. So for me, I would never have been able to sit down and talk to you because of the idea, a person of who I set myself as, and I wouldn't have the ability to have that conversation. And even now, I had to separate myself from that because I wanted to be able to open myself up to all people, all conversations. And you can't say, yeah, I'm cool. Everybody deserves love except for this one group of people.
Yeah.
Like, that doesn't make sense to me. So even now to this day, like, a couple of my friends will joke with me and like, yo, I'm going to tell you your uncle's on you because you're doing what you're doing. And it's like, they joking about it, but they know because how strongly the Rastafarian belief is.
Yeah.
So just hearing you saying you had to like, I was like, yo, forget what my uncle's gonna talk about. Like, I really want to understand people. But yeah, it was just so I guess relieving is the word I'm looking for, to hear that you can grow up and other people's standards will be placed on you, and it just to know that someone else went to kind of like that. And I know a lot of people probably do go through it, and they just, because they don't want to let certain family members down, or they don't want to let the friends that they have, or a fear of stepping out of like who you are and the life that you had set up. I know that's probably a whole different like experience too. But you said you moved around a lot as well too. Do you feel like you were running away or chasing something?
Now, somebody said that to me before.
Or neither.
Yeah, it really wasn't either. I moved. So I like I said, I moved. I went to school in Daytona Beach. That was 2003. I stayed there because I just felt like I needed to be there. I had really kind of intentionally worked on my relationship with God, and really just praying all the time. I was real saved back then. And so, and it was new to me, just that level of connection to God, or feeling that level of connection. So like I said, I started school, didn't finish school, withdrew from school. First year probation, lost part of my scholarship, had to go to part-time, stayed on campus for a little while, moved off campus, stayed in school, withdrew from school, moved in with my friend and his family, and I started going to a church like January 2005, and just really got connected there, built my relationship with God, and it came to a point where I had to decide whether or not I was going to stay there or go back home. And one memory that I remember very vividly, very fondly, I was out in Orlando singing with a group of people from the church, and we had gotten through singing, and they went out somewhere. They went to eat or whatever. I stayed in, the room, and just like prayed for maybe like an hour or so, because I really didn't know what to do. It was probably like one of the biggest decisions I had to make then. And I remember just, kind of going through the night and really coming to a conclusion that I'm going to stay. I'll stay here. It meant that I had to really find a life. And really I had to become an adult, like for real. Not that they were like taking care of me or anything, but that was really me being on my own. So I remember, calling mom and telling her. She wasn't for it, really, but I think she understood. And so from there, I always had a sense of where I needed to be, and that was something I think just in life that I had, that it took me, just that long to really understand and to know that that's what that was. But I've always, I know where I need to be when I need to be there.
All right, well, we talked about the picture you posted on Instagram, and basically, if you guys haven't seen it, it's a picture circulating on social media where it's two baseball players in a dugout, where one is consoling another one. Maybe you'll be able to explain it better, because I didn't know why he was doing it, but I was seeing another man laying in in a man's chest, and he was basically rubbing his head and consoling him because of something happened.
Honestly, I never read the story. I didn't read the story, because when I saw it, two things. Athletes have very different ways that they connect with one another. Mm-hmm. I just know that. Mm-hmm. Whether or not we see it, it's just there. Mm-hmm. Now, and there's no slight to anybody, but baseball players, I don't know. I just want to say that they are inherently just a bit more intimate with it. I don't know. Mm-hmm. I just think that I don't know. I could be wrong, but I just think that they are. And then a lot of baseball players are Hispanic. Or some other nationality. They may be, Americans, where they live in the States, but they may be of a different nationality. And I just know that Hispanic men, in particular, because it was two Hispanic men, they view intimacy between males differently than we do here in the United States. And so I was pretty outraged and annoyed and angered by a lot of the comments that I saw, because and not even from the men. I think I expected that from men who just believe that it's their job to be men.
Right.
I expected that. What really hurt me the most was a lot of the female comments.
Okay.
And really, just it was very disgusting. That's really the only word that I can use that I think really conveys what my feelings were. But to really have to have women, black women in particular, really dig into what a man should be and who a man should, hang out with, or how he should act, or how he should present himself. Because if he doesn't, he's not a real man. Well, you're not a man. Let's start there. So how are you to tell another man, woman, how they should act because they couldn't be with you? Well, ma'am, you don't have anybody. I've checked your Instagram. None of them include anybody. You don't have a ring on your finger. Okay? There's no date pictures. So who are you dating? Who's coming to your house? Okay? At the end of the day, y'all deal with the type of men that you deal with, and then you get mad that they're the type of men you deal with, and then other men who aren't the type of men that you don't like them either. Well, ma'am, that's why you're going to die alone, because you're horrible. And it, like I said, it was absolutely just disgusting just to see that we as a community, because it was a lot of black people, not to say that white people and everybody else wasn't talking about it, but I read comments from black people, and it made me sick to believe that we have this type of ideology and social created norms that we've placed on people, all because we grew up a certain way. So now the entire world, again, there's a universe that we do not see. But you, in your limited view, you have all the knowledge in the world to now dictate how someone else should live their life, as if yours is all peaches and cream. Come on. Like, at the end of the day, we're all human. Whether or not somebody died or not. I mean, they're team members. Maybe he was tired.
Right.
I mean, athletes do a lot.
Right.
I mean, I don't think they should get paid as much as they get paid. But hey, that's not this podcast. Maybe someone from a sports podcast will have me on, and I talk about the wage gap there.
Right.
But who knows? I personally didn't care why he was in his lap. Personally, now again, I'm a gay male, so that's not abnormal to me.
Right.
But just from a human standpoint, who cares?
Right.
Like, had the cameras not panned on them at that one moment, we would have never seen it.
Yep. And
we would have probably not ever spoken about those people ever again. But at the end of the day, there's nothing constructive about tearing people down for who they are, or for how they love, or for how they decide to express themselves, whatever it is. And obviously there are extremes, polar extremes on all sides, both sides. I don't want to say that because it sounded too Trumpish. Certain things you can't say now because he said it. But there are obviously extremes that we want to stay away from, but people just being human, that's a freaking right that we deserve to have, and to be able to do that publicly. And like I said, just for a herd of people just to come and attack such a moment, whatever the reason was, I do not care. People want to excuse it because, oh, his mom died. Oh, they're friends from, way back and his mom died. Well, if she didn't die, why can't they have a moment like that? Like, if they've been friends for that long, why can't they share stuff like that? And I know everybody's not going to agree and everybody's not going to ascribe to that type of affection and intimacy in their life, but it's not your life. It's not your life. It's not hurting you. And at the end of the day, there's enough studies that say, physical touch and cuddling and all that kind of stuff improves life in general. So shut up. You're single. You ain't got no man. So leave the other ones alone. God dog it.
And on that note, tell everybody where to follow you at to get more of your takes and to get to know you more, and if they want to reach out to just have a conversation with you.
DeAngelo G. McCoy, DeAngelo GMCCOY. That's on Instagram. I have a Facebook, DeAngelo McCoy, but I'm not there often, so you won't find me there. So Instagram is your best bet. That and Black Boy Beautiful. Check me out.
Hey man, black boys, you guys are beautiful, and remember, guys, thanks for listening. Subscribe, do all that good stuff that y'all supposed to do to help with the podcast. Like, whatever, share it too. And remember that this podcast is not a replacement to therapy. It's an alternative, and it's a place where people share therapeutic stories. Thank you for listening.